All right, everybody. I'm going to do a video on the introduction and how that is done. And so I'm just going to walk you through this PowerPoint that I've already posted that has all my notes and stuff. It's on Google Classroom for you to look at your own pace, as well as you can reference this video. I'm also going to make a second video where I'm actually going to walk you through the process of writing an introduction for the research paper. And so I'm going to be doing my own research paper to just sort of show you how it's done. All right, so let's get into this one. Okay, so the very first thing is this slide here that shows you exactly what I expect to see when I'm grading your introduction. What I want to see is just a general sort of topical information that comes in at the beginning. And this is going to be like 2 or 3 sentences that are just kind of leading me in. I'm not getting a lot of specific information here. This is just basically just sort of an overview of what the topic is going to be. But then I want to buckle down a little bit more. After I've written about 2 or 3 sentences like that, I want to actually include an interesting fact or a specific quote that was found in the research, and it has to be cited correctly. I'm going to have more information about that in a second. After that, just like in your notes that you were supposed to have already done, you're supposed to comment on that information, provide a personal comment. If you took good enough notes and wrote good enough comments, you might actually include that comment here, or maybe you have to go back and rewrite it a little bit. And then lastly, very, very important, the final sentence in your introduction should be your thesis statement or thesis sentence. It's just one sentence, and it's sort of like giving me an overview of your paper, but it's a very important sentence, okay? It's much more specific than the topic that you start off with. All right, so let's talk about what should not be in the introduction, okay? No information that cannot be cited, and that pretty much goes for the whole paper. If you're giving me specific info but you can't cite it, or it's coming from another source, or it's just something you know but it's very specific, leave it out, okay? Don't go there with that at all, because that starts to dabble into plagiarism a little bit. The other thing that sometimes people want to put into their introductions would be like famous inspirational quotes and stuff. Leave that out. This is not that kind of paper. This is not like a motivational speech or anything like that. This is an informational research document. All right, the next thing, stay away from second person. If you need more clarity on this, I'll be glad to give it to you, but basically it's words like you, your, or your. So basically just look through your paper once you've typed it up. You've handwritten it, I should say, for this draft. Did I use you or your? Like, avoid that completely. And the phrases in this paper or in this essay or I'm writing about, again, when you're writing this paper, I'm going to look at it. I'll see your name up at the top. I will see that it's an essay. So obviously you're writing this paper or this essay. I don't need that extra information. That's just kind of a bad habit that people get into. So let's look at the next thing here, in-text citation. I'm going to have some more information about this on a separate document, but just to kind of fill you in on the basics, I've given this as well. And again, you can pause this video or you can look at this on the notes that I've provided, but this just gives you the way that you might do an in-text citation if you're directly quoting the information or paraphrasing it or providing a summary. And you can see that all these are a little bit different, but this, you see these things right here in these parentheses. Remember in your notes where I had you set the word from, and then you wrote either the last name of the author or the first 2 words of the article title? Well, that's what this is, okay? That's where the in-text citation comes from. So you pull this information directly out of your article. Hopefully you've taken good notes and you can use one of those notes for it, and then you just cite it, and then that's taken care of. Now, I will say that one of the things I want you to see is, like, I prefer that you would do introductory information for each one of your citations, and we'll talk more about that in a separate thing. But this is just giving you sort of a general overview of what I mean by an in-text citation. A thesis statement. What does that mean? Well, a thesis statement is like the core of the paper. It's the focus. It's the central focus that's going to go all throughout the paper. And it's usually persuasive in some way, or it's meant to be somewhat persuasive. So basically, when you write a thesis statement, think about it as like a house. foundation, like any building you go into has a foundation of some sort. So you're not going to build a foundation for a small little house and then try to put a skyscraper on top of it. Like that would make no sense. So your paper is kind of similar in that the thesis is like the foundation of the paper. And so when you have that foundation in place and it's proper, then you build on top of that. You build from that, and that's where you add in all the details, okay? And so that's what the focus of the thesis should be. So I've given you a couple of examples here of what I mean by a thesis statement. And again, this is the last sentence of your introduction. It should be something kind of similar to this. The reoccurring humanitarian problems in Sudan demonstrate a severe need for further global intervention on a large scale. So you see how that's just telling me what the problem is, and it's maybe even kind of saying like this is something that needs to be done. Okay, that's not giving me all the detail of the paper. That's going to come later. This is just sort of like the core. This is like what the focus of the paper should be. Another example here, high school graduates should be required to take a year off before entering college in order to increase their maturity and global awareness. So again, this is just a very focused statement on like what the author believes, and that would be you, and kind of like what needs to be done about it, or at least a little taste of what might need to be done about it. Your thesis statements will not look exactly like these because these are just made up topics that I came up with. But the point is, these are just good examples that you can use to kind of inspire you to write your own good thesis statement. This slide you can look at later on your own, but it's just kind of giving some extra information about the thesis statement and sort of what are the expectations there. So that's just a general rundown of everything that should be in your research introduction. Remember, this is a handwritten paragraph to start with because this is just the rough draft. You will type it up later, obviously, and submit that as a part of the rest of the paper. But this is just the introduction paragraph draft that you're doing at this time. So I hope this video is beneficial to you, and if you have any questions, please let me know. Thank you.